Hey gamers, it's Treefy here with another Dragonflight beta leveling video. For this video, I wanted to put together a comprehensive 60 to 70 leveling guide for the Dragon Isles. Dragonflight comes out in just over a month, so I wanted to give my advice based on my leveling testing on the Dragonflight beta so far. I've been getting a lot of questions in previous videos and from the community about leveling, so I'll do my best to touch on some of what I think are the most important tips that will hopefully be helpful for everybody. What this guide is going to include are 3 key things. 1, how to prepare your character for leveling. This will include gear, consumables, speed items, all that fun stuff. Secondly, add-ons, macros, and then a general discussion about the pros and cons of Warmode. And then third, a zone-by-zone side quest guide. This will be the majority of the time spent on this video, and I'll go over what side quests I've found to be the most optimal to incorporate along the main campaign questing route. Since, spoiler alert, only doing the campaign without war mode does not quite get you to max level, so you will have to do some side quests along the way. My goal for this guide is to make the Dragonflight leveling experience as quick and efficient as possible for the people who may not enjoy leveling as much as I do and just want to enjoy the content at max level. I'm personally very passionate about speed leveling, and I've done about 12 or 13 full 60 to 70 runs on both the alpha and the beta combined, and my best time I've gotten down to 3 hours and 27 minutes, and you can watch that full run on my previous video. My general impression is that Dragonflight leveling is certainly going to be faster than Shadowlands leveling, mainly with the addition of dragon riding, just because a lot of people were curious about that, so thought I'd chime in. Okay, let's get into it. First, preparing your character. What I'm going to talk about first, before all of that, is take some time to clean out your bags before Dragonflight. I know this may be an annoying task, and some of you may feel personally attacked by me suggesting this, but trust me, it will make your leveling life much easier. You get a lot of item rewards from quests in Dragonflight, with the addition of all of the dragon riding glyph customization items that you get with quests. And it's just great to start a new expansion with a fresh inventory, fresh mind, so do yourself the favor. Take the time to do that in the next few weeks. Next, I want to talk about gear. So I have some general thoughts about gear optimization, but at the end of the day, the leveling experience can be done at just about any gear level. The template characters on the alpha before character copy was available were item level 180, so just about as poorly geared as you will ever see, and it really wasn't even that bad. You get some solid upgrades from the quest rewards, and the biggest difference that you'll see with a full best in slot mythic fated geared character is really just in those first 4 to 5 levels, where you're basically going to be one-shotting mobs if you're over a 300 item level for the first few levels. So that said, it definitely helps to get as geared as possible before Dragonflight, and my biggest recommendation between now and Dragonflight launch is simply to just get as high item level gear as you can, because it goes a long way. Okay, second is trinkets. I want to talk about trinkets a little bit because there's a lot of different kinds, and you'll likely have a few options to choose from in your bags. In general, you're wanting to optimize for either baseline stat increases, usually in combination with short on-use trinkets. So here's an example of the 2 that I'm going to use. Both of these are Mythic Plus drops, so I'm using the Thunder Towers Targeting Reticule. This is just flat agility, flat versatility. I like just the flat bonuses because it helps you out in those short burst windows that you're really optimizing for. And then a Kira's Adrenaline Injector, which is just an on-use trinket on a 2-minute cooldown that I'll just macro into my Bestial Wrath and kind of forget about it. Again, you're really going to be optimizing for just those short windows of damage. There's a lot of raid trinkets that provide you with like stacking buffs over time, over like 20 or 30 seconds. You really don't care too much about those. You want to be as powerful as possible, as quickly as possible. So the last thing I'll talk about with gear is don't forget about crafted pieces. These are going to be marginally helpful, but you can wear one piece of 262 crafted gear I'll show you an example of the one that I'm using here, the necklace. And then you can also wear some 233 pieces in conjunction with this. Now, the reason that I'm talking about crafted gear is because you can use the item Pure Air Sail Extensions. This is what adds the flat speed tertiary stat to these crafted items. So you can see this necklace increases my speed by 79. This is because I enchanted it with the Pure Air Sail Progenitor. I've also got it on my bracers here, so you can add speed to your bracers. You can add speed to both of your rings if you'd like to. And also I'm going to be wearing a set of Rocket Boots Extreme Light. I don't use this for the actual on use since it doesn't make you go that fast anymore. What I really like it for is the enchantment to the minor speed increase. This is just a flat 10% movement speed increase. I think it's a classic enchant and you can only use it on really low level boots. So that's why I like it for this. I'm obviously taking a huge item level hit here wearing the low level gear, but I'm not too worried about that for the first couple of levels. I'm optimizing for moving as fast as humanly possible. And then I have another item set here in the inventory. Here, I'll click it right here. That gets me up to 303 with my highest item level pieces across the board. And I'm still wearing the crafted neck, but I'm swapping out the low item level rings and the low item level bracers for some of my bigger stuff. And I'm going to swap to this at around level 64 or 65, just so I can stay ahead of the mob scaling curve. Okay, let's move on to other speed items. So the first I'm going to recommend are gun shoes. Obviously, this is a leveling staple. 1 to 2 stacks of gun shoes will be more than fine for this expansion. The great thing for many players this expansion is that we get dragon riding very early into our leveling journey, within the first hour or so. So ground speed increase items aren't nearly as impactful as they were in previous expansions because dragon riding is just so effective at traveling really quickly. That said, gun shoes have been very helpful for me in pulling and grouping large amounts of mobs in particular areas. And you can also bind RP walking to easily accessible keybind, so that way you can quickly navigate between quest NPCs that you need to talk to. The next item is Goblin Gliders. 1 stack of these is plenty. I have 2 just in case. These have been an essential staple leveling item in previous expansions, but again, with dragon riding, these aren't as necessary again. But there are a few great spots I've managed to use them if you're trying to conserve some of your dragon riding vigor, or using it in conjunction with Falling Flame to do a couple of cool tricks and cover some big distances quickly, or skip some RP. I really enjoy using these on the initial Zeppelin if you're Horde, jumping off of the Zeppelin or jumping off of the boat if you're Alliance, quickly using the Goblin Glider in conjunction with the Falling Flame, and you will shoot ahead, and if you do it right, you can land and skip some of the RP and just get straight into questing. There's another great spot in the Plains, the second zone, where you can skip a long RP taxi service from one of the green dragons and instead use Goblin Glider Falling Flame to just quickly get to the next questing zone. So those are very fun, but I will say not for the faint of heart, because you can definitely easily mess that combination up. The rest of the consumables and optional speed items, so I'll go through all of these really quickly. They're going to be pretty straightforward. Get some flasks, stock up on these, the special flasks of power. Get your weapon oils, your main stat potions. The food that you should be using is called fried bonefish. This is the Shadowlands version of bear tartar, where you kill an enemy and you get a short burst of speed. Okay, you're going to want some drums too. I don't have it on my hunter, but I'm going to get a couple of drums if you're a non-lust class. You're going to want your BFA movement speed gems. These are the 5% and 3% movement speed gems that stack on top of each other. However, I just noticed in this most recent beta build, they don't actually give percent increase speed anymore. It's flat speed increase. And for some reason, the rare one gives less speed than the common one. So I'm going to need to do a little bit of testing to see if it still gives percent speed increase or if they did actually just nerf the heck out of these. So get a couple of them. They might be helpful, but also maybe not. Any extra enchants for gear upgrades that you get. So get a couple of ring enchants, boots, chest, cloak. Definitely use this cloak enchant specifically, the fortified speed one, to make yourself a little bit faster. The Miss of Pandaria fast mounts are great and very easy to pick up. So this is the tuft of yak fur and the oddly shaped horn. These are very cool. They function the exact same as gun shoes, where you use them and you move very, very fast. And the great thing about them is they don't share a cooldown, or they don't have a cooldown, rather. But they only have 3 charges, so you can only use them 3 times total, and that's it. So pick those up. The next great one is the Radinax Control Gem, this little green thing right here. These also have 3 charges. I've already used a couple of charges, so there's only 1 left, but I'll show you how that one works too. It's basically the Legion spaceship surfboard, and it does the exact same thing, except you cannot RP walk with this one. So this one is simply good for just traversing large distances, not for turning in quests and talking to NPCs. Next are the experience banners. So you're going to want to pick up the purple, blue, and green version of these experience banners from your guild vendor in any major city. These simply just, you throw it down and it increases the experience that you get from mobs within a 100-yard range by 15, 10, and 5%. I'll share a macro with you where you can essentially use all 3 of these on one button. You won't need to push each one individually. And when you hit that button, it will throw down whichever one is available. And since once you use it, it's on a 10-minute cooldown, but then you can't use another one for 2 minutes. A couple more here. The Falling Flame, I've already mentioned. This is great, but not worth your time if you're going to spend hours farming it on the Timeless Isle. It's got a 2% drop rate off of Cinderfall. It's nice, but not hugely necessary. I also recommend getting the Cloak of Coordination. This is very helpful for switching on Warmode later if you don't want to start questing with it on. Since you can only turn on Warmode in Orgrimmar, you can just start your questing experience with Warmode off, get maybe ahead of the pack, and then use this in conjunction with your Hearthstone to get to Orgrimmar, turn Warmode on, and then Hearth back to the Dragon Isles and pick up right where you left off. Last 2 here is you're going to want the Checkered Flag from the Darkmoon Fair. This is just a nice static mount speed increase, which actually stacks with dragon riding too. So it does make your dragon riding faster, which is very cool. And then the last one here is Shadow Berries. These are really cool. They are a flat heal over time, over a minute for yourself, and these are farmable off of a rare mob in, I think it's Shadowmoon Valley in Miss of Pandaria. So I picked up a couple stacks of these. These are nice just so you have no downtime in between packs. You don't need to eat, you don't need to heal or anything, or if I know that I'm going to be pulling a big pack, I'll pop one of these beforehand, and it'll just last on you for an entire minute, healing you for 2% of your max health. Okay, I want to go over add-ons really quickly. My add-ons are very lightweight that I've been using for my speed leveling. First, I use Leatrix Plus. This is a very handy add-on that I use for automating quest accepting and turning in, and I also just have it set to sell junk in my bags and repair automatically, and that's pretty much all I use it for. It does a lot of other stuff, but this add-on in particular has worked most consistently for me throughout all of alpha and beta, so I recommend it for that purpose. The second one is Speedy Auto Loot. So this does exactly what it says it does. It loots things really fast. The third one is Cinematic Canceller. So this also does exactly what it says it does. Instantly cancels cinematics right when they start to play. Now, one disclaimer is I've actually watched the beta cinematics a few times, and they are really cool, and there are some that Blizz hasn't even implemented yet at key storyline points that I'm sure will be really awesome to watch at launch. So proceed with this add-on with caution. You know, I'm planning on turning this add-on off for my second character that I'm leveling to 70, so I actually get the chance to watch some of the cinematics that I haven't seen yet that will be coming out on launch day, because I'm sure it's going to be really cool. All right, I'll go over a couple of macros next. These are just helpful macros in general. So the first one is for gun shoes, you know, using the gun shoes, and then you hit that same macro and it cancels the gun shoes. pretty simple. The next macro is for the Radnax control gem, does the exact same thing. You use the Radnax, and then when you hit the button again, it cancels the aura. Next, here's the macro for the experience banners that I was talking about. Okay, last thing before the zone by zone side quest guide is just a brief discussion on my thoughts on Warmode. I'm a little bit torn about Warmode, to be honest, because the Alliance and Horde are going to be starting basically 200 yards apart from each other on the Waking Shores for their intro quests. And then once you finish those intro quests, you're actually funneled into the Wingrest Embassy together. So you go up the stairs through the same choke point, and you start questing adjacently, and then the quests are the exact same for Alliance and Horde for the rest of the campaign. That makes me a little nervous being so close to the Alliance and starting in War Mode. I still think that I'm going to start in War Mode because I can always switch it off in the inn there in the Wingrest Embassy if things get dicey. But it is something that I'm still considering and is definitely going to be risky. So I think my general advice would be to not be in War Mode when you're starting. And if you have the Cloak of Coordination, you can always teleport back to Orgrimmar and then hearth back if you really want to turn it on later, if you happen to get ahead of the pack or there's no Alliance or Horde on your server, whatever. Okay, now for the zone by zone side quest guide. As I mentioned, if you only level through campaign quests without War Mode, skipping side quests, rare mobs, wanted quests, etc., based on my testing run of this, you will only get to around level 67.5 by the time you turn in the last quest to Alexstrasza in Thaldraszus. Now this leaves roughly 930,000 experience that you need to find somewhere along the main storyline path in order to hit 70 at the end of the campaign. That may seem like a lot, but don't worry, that's what this guide is for. I got you. We'll start in the Waking Shores. The first zone will be almost completely story mode quests, but there are a few easy side quests that are literally right on the path, so you might as well knock them out. Starting once you get to the Wingrest Embassy, you'll want to pick up Give Peace a Chance. This quest has a different quest giver depending on if you're Horde or Alliance, but it just requires you to talk to somebody quickly from the opposite faction, which will then unlock 3 side quests that we'll do here. These are Always Be Crafting, Quality Assurance, and Encroaching Elementals. These are pretty easy to knock out while you're waiting for the Dragon Reunion RP with Majordomo and Wrathion. These should net you about 31-ish thousand experience, and again, these numbers are without War Mode or experience banners or anything, so those are pretty quick. Next, as you're completing veteran reinforcements in the campaign, healing injured Draconoids, pick up Fighting Fire with Water from Caretaker Vendraz. This is going to have you kill some blobs in the cave and then come out again for a quick 12k experience. It's right there, you can't miss it. Before flying to the Ruby Life Shrine with Majordomo Silistra, grab a 2-for-1 deal from Apprentice Caretaker Zephyrin. I promise I'm trying with these names. Go kill some rock dudes, loot them, and then return for a quick turn-in and another 14k experience. This one is just to the right after you carry the egg back from the lava area. You can't miss it. And that is it for the Waking Shores. It is literally just those 2 or 3 little side quests. You are going to want to ignore all of the side quests in the Ruby Life Shrine. Those are all traps, so just ignore all those the exclamation points. Just focus on the storyline from here and kill any rare mobs that you find in the areas that you're questing in. There should be a total of 3 easy ones for an extra 30-ish K XP. You'll do the fewest side quests in the first zone, mostly to help you get ahead quickly, since there are some much more efficient side quest hubs in the later zones. This brings the total extra experience in the Waking Shores doing side quests to roughly 90k. Now for the second zone, the Ohn'ahran Plains. After killing the Blazing Proto-Dragon, which is the first quest in this zone, you'll fly over to the small hub in the plains the Timberstep Outposts. This is the first quest hub here. Pick up Soul Supplier from Apprentice Ehri and Thieving Gorlocks from Farrier Rosha. You can either do these quests right away or wait until you actually do the main story quests in this area. It doesn't matter, but make sure you do these. They are incredibly efficient. This side quest chain will net you about 80k experience in like 5 minutes. Now, once you're in Marukai, you'll get 3 campaign quests to get to know the different Centaur clans. After completing the clan Ohn'ahran quests, you can make a quick detour to the northeast to the Nethrazin ruins. Pick up Tools of the Tirade and the Relic Inquiry from Skyscrape Adenadal. The reason that I like this area so much is because there's a bonus objective right there, and you can basically mass pull these mobs with gun shoes and complete the quest in the bonus objective almost instantly. This will get you about 40,000 experience in just over 2 minutes probably. I would say it's an optional area since it's slightly out of the way, and it's not exactly in the campaign quest line, but it's definitely still worth doing if you remember to do so. Speaking of remembering, remember to set your Hearthstone in Marukai. This is very, very important. Do not forget to do this. You'll thank me later. Once the campaign takes you to Tirakai, do every side quest available in this town. There are 2 regular quests and a wanted quest to pick up here. You're pretty much always going to do every wanted quest that you come across. They give 30,000 experience each, at least. There's also a rare mob just northeast of Tirakai that is pretty easy to spot. It's in a cave. So this whole area will give roughly 130,000 experience in about 10 minutes. The wanted quest areas are incredibly efficient, so definitely do this. Once you finish the Green Dragon part of the campaign, Renewal of Vows, you'll get the Breadcrumb quest as a part of the campaign to go to the Azure Span. This is where you should use your Hearthstone back to Marukai to gain a little bit more altitude before flying to the Span. The Green Dragon area that you're going to be ending in is really low, and you'll need to spend pretty much all of your dragon riding vigor in order to get to the next quest area, so it's easier to just hearth. That's it for the Ohn'ahran Plains. The total side quest experience that you'll get here will be roughly 250k. Okay, now for the Azure Span, the 3rd zone. Right away, you'll find yourself at Curry's fishing spot, and there are 2 really great side quests to knock out here, including 1 wanted quest. So you'll grab Arcane Detection from Miva Stareye and the wanted quest from Shala. These will give you about 50,000 experience in less than 2 minutes. They're incredibly fast. Ignore the quest that makes you fish. Don't do that one. That's not efficient. Then head over to Camp Antonidas. Once you're in Camp Antonidas, you'll have to do a couple of campaign quests in order to unlock the side quests in town. So after you shoot down all of the dragons in the turret and turn in that quest, you'll see the others pop up. Grab Suspiciously Quiet and Wanted Frigilius. Finish them and do the following quest that unlocks Setting the Defense for a quick 50k XP. These all happen in Camp Antonidas, so pretty much everything that's available here you'll want to do. Once the campaign takes you to the Azure Archives with Caligos, be sure to set your Hearthstone at the Conjured Biscuit Inn there before leaving to return to Camp Antonidas. This is very important for later. Next, you'll do the campaign for quite a while, and you're basically just going to follow those quests before finally arriving in Iskara, home of the Tuskar in the Azure Span. This is a fantastic small town for side quests, as you'll want to do every single one that you see here, with the exception of the one that requires you to fish. So the list of quests that you'll want to make sure you pick up are Scampering Scamps, Community Connections, Wanted, Krojek the Shore Prowler, Rowie, and Nook News. Nook News is a breadcrumb that tells you to go to Whaler's Nook. It's a small side quest hub that's just slightly outside of Iskara, but I think it's worth it for the short trip. Once you do all of the side quests in Iskara, the Wanted quest, and the Whaler's Nook side quest zone, that will net us about 190,000 experience. So this is a huge chunk of the total. Once you're done in Iskara, you can just hearth back to the Azure Archives. Once back at the Archives, you'll fly across the zone to Ronin's Shield. And then once you're here, grab Drake's Begone from Drak Scrollstabber and Riders in the Snow from Ruskar Elder. You'll hop in another turret, shoot down some drakes, turn in that quest really fast, and then turn back towards the west and fly towards Riders in the Snow. This is a fantastic small quest chain. Again, it includes a bonus objective, and this will give us about 90,000 experience in 7 to 8 minutes. And that's it for the Azure Span. Adding in roughly 4 rare mobs that are pretty easy to spot and kill in this zone's main questing areas, the total side quest experience gained in the Azure Span is roughly 420,000 experience. So after 3 zones, that brings us to roughly 760,000 experience that we've gotten through side quests, wanted quests, rare mobs, all of that. So we're only 180k roughly away from fully bridging the experience gap to 70 by the time the campaign ends. Now, in Thaldraszus, there are a couple of great side quest areas that are very easily accessible. I unfortunately don't have any footage of me doing them since my speedruns typically end in the Azure Span, but I recorded at least where they are located and how to fly to them from the top of Thaldraszus. These 2 areas will be more than what is necessary to get to 70 by the end of the campaign. One is the Garden of Respite side quest chain, and the other is I forgot the name, but it's the overlook about halfway between Thaldraszus and where Chromie is at the Bronze Dragonflight. These 2 areas will be more than what you need, more than what is necessary to get you to 70 by the end of the campaign. I would recommend once you get to Thaldraszus, only doing the campaign quests, and then once you finish back in Thaldraszus, then just backtrack really quickly to one or both of these side quest hubs to finish getting you to 70. It's a very easy and quick backtrack, and you might as well just finish the campaign first, because based on density of mobs, how many people are around, the experience total can vary. So I'd recommend just finishing the campaign and then backtracking to these 2 questing areas in Thaldraszus if you need to. And there you have it. These are the most optimal side quests that I have found, and should be pretty easy for you to incorporate them into the main storyline route to get you as close to 70 as I believe is possible once you complete the campaign. If you have access to the beta, I would highly recommend doing at least 1, maybe 2 full 60 to 70 runs just to get used to how the quests work. Out of all of the tips that I gave you, all of the speed increases, all of the speed items, all of the gear that you could possibly get, nothing will take time off of your total time like just practicing the quests. So if you have access to the beta and you haven't leveled yet, I highly recommend just doing it, maybe following this specific route to see how close it gets you to 70, so that way you're more prepared when the expansion comes out. If you have no interest in doing that, or you don't have access to the beta, that's fine, and this should be more than enough. Okay, my intention is to do a follow-up video with specific strategies for speedrunning 60 to 70 without worrying about how much of the campaign you'll have to actually do at max level. So this is my exact route that I'm planning on doing. My route to 70 ends in the Azure Span. So this would cover things like quest to pre-complete and turn in an Orgrimmar while I am running around talking to the NPCs in the first couple of campaign quests, or different explanations for how to use Falling Flame and some other speed tricks. I hope this was helpful. This was my first edited YouTube video ever, so it took a really long time to do. Please let me know if you have any thoughts, questions, feedback in the comments, and I'll be sure and try to respond to everybody. expect a couple more speedrun videos in the next couple of weeks as I try to refine my own route and test the new beta builds as they come out every week. So if there are any major changes to the quest lines or experience requirements, I'll be sure to make an updated video. I really appreciate everyone watching and for everyone's questions and feedback over the last few weeks. It means a lot. These are really fun. Speed leveling has always been something that I've really enjoyed about this game, and I'm happy to finally share some of my strategies with all of you. All right, until next time, thanks.